Okay, so I think we'll go ahead and get started. Thanks for taking the time to join us today. Glad to see so many of you on the webinar. My name is Brian Boscher, and I'm the president of Condo Control. I'm joined today by my colleague, Greg Vieira, who is our customer success team lead. And together, we're going to be presenting today's webinar on a deep dive into our amenity booking feature. So the goal is to really dig into a lot of the things that we've changed and new features that have come out over the last year. So before we begin with the webinar, just a quick refresher. Always want to remind everyone how to get help if you need it. We're open Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and we've got your technical support contact details there and your dedicated customer success team, Greg, Christine, Andrea, and Gerard. They are available to help you with any strategic or sort of higher level questions about how to get the most out of Condo Control. So just again, to sort of remind you where we're at through our fall webinar series that we're doing, we have the three that we've done previously are now available on YouTube. And then we've got today's amenity booking, and then we've got our sort of year-end one that's going to be coming up on Wednesday, December 9th to really recap all of the new features that have been done in the last year. So before we get started, I wanted to take a quick minute here. We wanted to do a little bit of something hopefully a little bit more fun. We're going to use the polling feature and want to just get your feedback, a little bit of interactivity here to kick things off. What type of Zoomer are you? Now that here in Toronto, we're back under a lockdown again, many of us are all spending way too much time sitting in front of a computer. And so just click on the option that best describes your Zoom experience. We have one person who's in pajamas all day, and we have one here, several people here who like to make use of the virtual backgrounds. So yeah, and it looks like nobody has family members coming into their Zoom meetings so far, so that's interesting. So through the rest of the meeting, we're going to have a couple more polls that we're gonna share with you. More focused on the topic at hand, but I just wanted to kick things off here to get an idea what type of people you all are. So with that, we're going to move on. What is new in amenity booking? That's going to be the starting point, both from resident perspective and administrator perspective. Then we're going to talk about features that we have to support COVID-19 risk management and steps on how to enable the new amenity booking feature, which Greg is going to show you on the system. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Greg. Greg is going to take you through the rest of the webinar, and we'll sort of both jump in when it's time for Q&A. Again, if you have questions during the webinar, please either click the raise your hand button, and then we'll be happy to unmute you and you can ask your question. Or if you'd prefer to put your question in the chat, you can just pop it into the Q&A feature, and we will read those out sort of as we go through the presentation. So with that, I'll hand it over to Greg. Greg, you can go ahead.
Thank you, Brian. Again, excited to be here once to talk about one of the most exciting topics overall, given the fact that I've been in the company for pretty much 6 years. So I have grown within the amenity booking interface and functionality and so forth. So I'm very excited to present to you what has changed from beginning of this year to present. So before we start, I just wanted to touch base on what CCC has to offer. So we have kind of gone through feedbacks throughout, I would say, over 5 years, throughout some of the heaviest users that use our amenity booking feature. And then we have made some major changes, not only from the resident point of view, but from the administrator point of view, where from a resident point of view, they see a more user-friendly and new design dashboard that's easy for them to take advantage of such feature. And from an administrator point of view, we have given a lot of self-serve interaction within our setup page so that the administrator using Condo Control Center can configure that at any given time and change pricing, reshifting time slot, changing the terms and condition if that's the case, it happens for Amenity. And we have also provide the ability to show the hours of operations from end point of view, from a resident point of view, the ability for them to see what sort of rules are available within that page, as well as the pricing structure. So that kind of solves some of the lacking of the amended booking feature in the past, where the resident would have to go through until the end of the booking to kind of see what the terms and conditions are, what the pricing structure is, what sort of availability is around within that. So within these changes that we implemented early this year, you would see some of those changes throughout the webinar today. And then this is, again, where you want to have as much interaction with your audience, where you can ask your questions, you can give us a feedback, or anything that you would like to see. Please, don't hesitate to ask us so that we can make this webinar as interactive as possible. So the first slide I'm going to share with you, we call this a resident journey.
So actually, Greg, just before we do that, we want to run a quick poll of what it is that people want to get out of today's presentation. If you don't mind. So we're just going to put up a quick poll here, and we want to see what are the areas that are most interesting. So we've got three options. So the workflow for creating amenities, setting restrictions for amenities, sort of COVID-related restrictions, and then the new sort of user-friendly, visually more attractive interface for residents. So we got, just give it another couple seconds here. We got feedback from almost everybody.
Yeah, due to COVID nowadays, it's one of the hottest topics, COVID-related amenities. Yeah. So it's really interesting to see that.
So I'm just going to share the results here. You should be able to see it. Basically, we've got the COVID is really the top thing that you all want to talk about. So we'll be sure to mention that. And then the other two, the amenity workflow and visually appealing interface are both there as well. So we'll definitely make sure we have, Greg has some content for you on COVID, so we'll get to that. And if you have specific, after we've sort of gone through everything, if you have specific COVID screening type questions that you want to ask, we can go through those. Okay, Greg, you can go ahead.
Okay, perfect. So we're jumping right to the resident journey on what is the interface that will go through once the new amenity interface is enabled for your workspace. So you're probably familiar with some of the screen that we have done through the latest webinar on Ortesa Stripe. So the resident get to see this high graphic design interface that you can set some sort of pictures for each of your amenities. And then they'll see a breakdown of fee when they are interacting within the Book Now feature on your screen. So in this case, we chose the cardio room, number one, given the gym restrictions during COVID. So in this case, my user has chose the option that says Book Now for cardio room. The next screen, it shows a high level of details of what this amenity is about, a picture of that amenity. And to the bottom of that, it shows the terms and conditions based on what your rules and regulations for using such amenity would have. So it states that everything in here on the screen. On the right-hand side, starting from the top right, it says create a booking. It gives you the start date and the end time. In my example, I have the towels included and regular for my cardio room. Again, those are optional depending on what sort of interaction and offering you have for such rooms. It gives me the pricing and deposit structure. In this case, this is an amenity which is free of charge, where prior to COVID, users could just use the fob to access it. And then the hours of operation below, it gives me a breakdown on what are the hours that are not available for booking such amenities. Once I have selected my start date, end date, and time from until, I'll click Book Now. Once I click Book Now, I get brought up to this screen that confirms what I want to book, where am I booking from until, what is the event description / notes that I want to put in, to the administrator to see, and how many guests am I bringing to using the facility. In my example, I have a limit of 2 guests per residence within my building, as to why you see the 2 option for the number of guests. And again, on the right-hand side, it gives you the pricing and deposit structure, as well as the hours of operation. Those pricing and hours of operation plays a huge role when you're dealing with amenities that has a fee and a deposit, such as your party room, such as your guest suite, or any of those rooms that you collect revenue from. It gives them a very nice breakdown, so that they don't call manager and say, what's the price for this? How much am I paying for this? And so forth. So it's something very exciting and visual that saves a lot of process within the resident point of view. Once I'm satisfied with this information as a resident, I'll click the next button on the bottom right, and I get to this page. So this page is where I'm reading the terms and conditions that was appear on the first screenshot. And I have an option that says agree to the above of term condition, and then I have the electronic signature below. In my example, I have the ability to type my name or draw a signature. If I click draw a signature on the main screen, you'll get to this page that the residents can draw their signature using their mouse, or if they have a touch screen, they can use the finger if they're using to the mobile, so forth. Once they have done this, then they get to the final page where they're actually reviewing, confirming all the previous screens. So it tells me I'm booking the party room from the email reminder. And then on the right-hand side, again, it states the pricing structure and the hours of operation. And then in this case, the residents will click save. Once they click save, they are brought to this page that tells them that your reservation has been saved on the top, but must still be approved. You receive a notification once it's approved. So again, the approval versus automatically approval is also an option that the system offers. So if you don't want to do any sort of approvals within those amenities that doesn't have a fee, for example, your gyms, your swimming pool, and all those, you can set the permission to automatically approve if there's a slot available, so that you and the concierge staff doesn't have to approve every single amenity that comes in. They can just approve on its own once those time slots are available. Okay, so that ends my resident point of view. So I'll move to the administrator point of view. So my next slide is how to set up a new amenity. So the system provides a complete overhaul through what we call the setup page. So within the setup page, which only administrator of each workspace has access to, gives you a breakdown of all the settings available for all the modules available. So in this case, you'll be looking at the amenity setup page. To access the setup page to the amenity, you will log into Condo Control Central. You hit welcome on the top right, and you click setup on the drop-down menu. Once you do that, on the left-hand side, you see where it says amenity booking. Then you can click on that. Then once you click on that, you get to the follow screen. Once you get to this follow screen, you should be able to see a list of all your amenities. So you most likely, if you've been using Condo Control for a while, you should see a list of our amenities, and each one of those amenities on the left-hand side of it should give you actions. So those action based on the icons. So if we go left to right icon, we have one there, which is a book that gives you the view details. We have a pencil icon where you can edit your existing amenities. We have the trash bin where you can delete your amenities. And to the one that Brian was just referring to is the circle with a line on it, which is called take out of service. And the one to the right of that is what we call linked amenities, which you can link specific amenities to other amenities in order to avoid some sort of duplicate booking. We don't see those very often, but it can get a little bit confusing in such. And then the last but not least is one called replicate, which we're going to be focusing quite a bit today based on those COVID-19 risk management restriction. So what you would do here on the screen, you click new amenity to create a brand new amenity. In this case, we're given an example in creating a party room. So my example is I have a limit of 5 people per time slot, and I need to control that each time slot can only allow 5 people at once. So I have time slots from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Each hour, those time slots are from 9 to 10, 10 to 11, 11 to noon, and I need a capacity of 5 within those an hour. So in this case, I click new amenity. On the next screen, you're going to be able to add the amenity name on the top. You can add an amenity group related to that amenity. You can give a very detailed description on what this amenity about. You can choose the color for the amenity. You can upload pictures for amenities. You can have as many pictures as you want for the amenity. You can upload a resident banner. We give you one by default, which is an infinity pool, but if you have your own, you're more than welcome to modify that. You can make the requester comments mandatory. You can show this as a separate menu and so forth. Once you're satisfied with this information, you hit next. On the next page, you'll give you a breakdown of approval required / automatically approve. You'll give you options such as maximum booking length. You'll give options for volumes per booking if you want to restrict how many times a resident can book in a day, in a week, in a year. You can restrict that by unit or by user. You can do time slots. You can set up blackout times. So if you don't have time slots, but you have open clock, which gives them an open menu where they can select their own timing, you can set up what we call blackout times. If you need them to block, for example, my amenities run from Monday to Friday, Wednesday from 9 a.m. to noon. I need to block those hours because my green bean or my contract that takes out the garbage is going to be blocking the loading area. So you can block that time so that there's no booking within that because you need that space for the garbage truck to come in. You have the ability to set up cleaning hours. So cleaning hours meaning, for example, if I need an amenity to be cleaning every hour based on, let's say, a maximum of 4, you can tell the system to do that. And what the system is going to do is between every 4 hours, that's going to be an added service within an hour, which is called cleaning hours. So somebody can come in and clean the space. And we also offer what we call the minimum and maximum booking lead time. The minimum is how early they can book in advance, and the maximum can be how advanced they can book throughout the year. So if you don't want people to book for Christmas of 2021, you can set some sort of those restriction. You can set up the number of guests. So this applies for your party room, your guest suite. We add something called enable more questions about guests. So this was a heavily requested feature back in the day where management wants to know the guest names and the car details of those guests that will be present during your, for example, your party room. So we have that option available that, you can enable that. And then when the residents are booking this, they'll be prompted to enter their first and last name of their visitors, as well as their plate numbers if they require a visitor. We also have another feature here in the bottom called enable inspection. So this is where if you want to completely go paperless, we have a feature on the Samsung tablet that you can input all the soft pre and post inspections from your existing booking forms. So if you do that on a tablet, that means you're going fully paperless, and your concierge staff is going to be doing pre and post inspections within the tablet itself. In order for that to work, of course, you have to have a Samsung tablet, and you have to have Wi-Fi available at the concierge desk. But this is something that we have quite a few clients using this where they want to go paperless. And what you do is the concierge will get the tablet, they'll go and do the inspections within the residence where they'll check mark everything inspected. They'll get a signature from the residents that they have confirmed those are some sort of the inspection, and then they'll do the same thing for the post inspection. So the next page, I have terms and conditions. So this is where you will pretty much copy and paste your existing terms and conditions from a Word document. As you can see here, I have the options on the top that says agree online. So you can put it nicely here. You can put as much information as you want in here. If you look a little bit down to my terms and conditions, I have the enforce signature option to yes or no. If you do yes, that means you're enforcing the signature, meaning the resident will have to sign when they're filling this out through the desktop version. And then if you have custom payment details, those are more like to amenities that you have, fee and deposit, and maybe you have a security that needs to be on duty if there's alcohol being served and so forth. You can mention those in there that, for security, there's, $25 an hour, minimum of 4 hours, holiday hours and so forth. So that just gives you more details within the end user being your resident so that they're aware of those additional charges. Once you put this information here, the next page that I have is the payment. So the payment fee type in this case, because I'm doing a cardio, I have no fee, but we have the ability to do flat fee, hourly fee. You have the ability to do something new that we added called pricing matrix. So pricing matrix, it doesn't get used very often, but it will give you Monday to Sunday options. And then you have the ability to put different fees within each day of the week. So we have a few clients that have some sort of restrictions for using the party room and guest suites on different time of the week. So for example, Monday to Wednesday, it's $100 to book the party room, and Thursday to Friday is 110, Saturday to Sunday is 150. We have the capability to do some sort of those what we call pricing matrix. We have the ability to do pricing matrix for guest suites. So we have a few clients that what they do is if somebody books a maximum booking length of a guest suite for 7 days, corporation would charge them, let's say 100. If they do anything between 7 to 21 days, that 100 will now become 85. And if they do 21 plus, that 85 will now become 50 a night if they're doing a maximum. So those are some of the new functionalities for payment that we added within this new interface that was never there before. And then on my screen, I have something that we call enable amenity options. So what that entails to is a perfect example for this would be your elevator. So each corporation typically we have one service elevator. However, within the service elevator, there's usually 3 sort of bookings that clients can use. One would be called move in only, move out only, and then the third one, delivery. You can set those blocks as options so that your audience can pick one of those 3, so that when that booking comes to management or concierge, you have a clear understanding on what those are about, so that you can set the elevator out of service, bat it down, and so forth. And then the final option is the review page. So review page is where you actually review every single thing that you have just completed to make sure that each one of the settings for the configuring of this amenity has been set up. So that completes the adding a brand new amenity to the system. And the next screen that I'll share with you is what we call the features to support COVID risk management. Okay, so we get to talk about features to support COVID risk management. So we're talking. I'm been providing examples in the Toronto lockdown that we just entered a second lockdown just this week. But going back a few months, we entered a first lockdown where corporations had to come up with solutions to provide accessibility to those what we call COVID-19 bookings, which would be your gyms, your rooftop terrace, your swimming pool, where prior to COVID residents could easily access it by a fob. So that's where we were helping a lot of our clients in supporting such capabilities, so that the corporation can comply within the social distancing provided by the government of Ontario. So this is applicable to any other province or country that is also in a lockdown. So again, this goes across all those scenarios. So as you remember, when I was doing my setup, I had set up a cardio room. So I'll flip it to the next screen here. And this is where I have now my cardio room. Now I only have one cardio room. If you remember, my scenario is I have a limit of 5 people to be used the cardio room once every hour based on the 1 hour time slot that I have from 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. So that means I need to have around 5 cardio rooms, so that each cardio room will represent a person. And then once all 5 are booked within that 1 hour time slot, that means my capacity of 5 has reached. So there's a very, I would say, helpful and neat function that we built called replicate, or not replicate, duplicate. So as you can see here on the screen, I have highlighted that once you click that option, it'll give you a drop down of numbers. For example, in my number, I need 5 of them. So I'm not going to create, again, the second one, third one, fourth one, and fifth one with the same sort of settings. I can just copy them over and translate them to 5. So once I hit that, I get to this page. So I have Guardian 1 all the way to 5, which has the exact same permissions and restrictions from the original one. So you make it really easier to use it and be effective on those sort of controlling that each corporation are complying with based on their terms and conditions. And again, as Brian mentioned, if you come across scenarios that you're not sure what each of those functionality do or where to click, again, we're always here to help you. Contact your dedicated customer success manager. We set up sessions where we assist you. We collect all the information that is required for you to comply, and then we apply those and to a satisfaction that would work seamless to what you're looking for. You may come across some scenarios that we might have to do some extra configuration, but at the end of the day, given what we have gone through a few months ago, and then now given that we just went to a second lockdown, and then eventually we're going to reopen the same scenario we had for a couple months ago to the first lockdown, this has helped pretty much, I would say, everybody as a client that use the amenity booking and they have, facilities that they need residents to use. As Brian had touched previously, how to enable the new interface. So, as he had mentioned, we launched this earlier this year. It was around, I would say March, April. That's when it went live. But we had a selected pilot project that we enabled to those clients that are heavy users and they have a lot of feedback back then. We did about 3 to 4 months pilot, gather all the feedback, implemented that feedback back into Condo Control. And then, as Brian mentioned, if you're looking to enable this, that you do not see this functionality currently enabled on your amenity, reach out to your customer success manager so that we can assist you in adding all the pictures and adding all the terms and conditions, making it look visible and presentable to your audience. Now is a perfect time because everything is closed, so it gives you some sort of flexibility to work ahead of the time when you have to then re-enable your amenities to go live with the residents. Our goal for 2021 is to flip the switch from what we call old interface to new interface by the end of Q1. The reason for that slow approach is that, from experience in the past, like when you have a functionality that's been used for, years and you design a new one, if we were to force everybody into the new one, we kind of, receive X amount of feedbacks that why did you do this? Why are you switching? Why are you not letting us know? So we learned from doing that in the past. That's why we're doing a slow approach. And given the fact that amenity is one of the heaviest modules that our clients use, we want to make sure that we give enough notice and everybody is pretty satisfied to what we have implemented, a fixed address and so forth, so that we can have a seamless and smoothly transition and so forth. The other thing, Brian, to mention is, the webinar series, something that we done it this year for the first time. Like we're always open to change topics, add topics that matters to the community. Have speakers participating on how Condo Control has either successfully changed the way they operated or has failed to operate, which would be very interesting for us to hear and address those. And as the year are coming and given 2020 on what it was, we have had some amazing outcomes and some outcomes that wasn't the best, but given to clients that are new or clients that have been around, like we're always looking forward to your feedback on building new features, doing enhancements just like this one. The latest feature we built was the virtual meeting through Zoom, which many of our clients have asked. So we're always aiming to satisfy our clients' need. Doesn't matter if you're a low rise or a high rise. So again, feedback is very important for us, and we appreciate every single one of them.
Thank you, everybody, for your participation, and we'll see you hopefully in a couple of weeks on, I believe it's December 9th is our final webinar for the year, where we're going to be summarizing in a sort of a high level everything that we did this year. Thanks again for your participation. Have a good day.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.